Hey guys, Clay here. Gonna do something a little different today. I thought, you know, what better way to try to explain, changes you can do to the race car at the track other than using iRacing. Um, I think this would be a great tool to kind of show you guys what different changes do. And, this may not be real appealing to someone who already knows what's going on, but for newer guys or people that are wanting to learn about race cars, I think this is going to be a great thing for you guys. I'm probably going to make a little series out of this. Tonight, we're probably going to cover right side springs. Um, so, to get started, I guess, we are going to run a base setup for a few laps. Um, kind of show you guys what it looks like. I think we've got a 550 in the right front and a 200 in the right rear. And this will be our base setup, and then we'll start making some spring changes and kind of let you guys see what happens and what it does. Um, Springs are springs. I'm in a modified, but physics doesn't change because you're in a different car. So these changes and things that are happening apply to any kind of race car with spring. Um, so we'll go ahead and get going here. We'll make a few laps. I'll run a couple laps on top, middle, and bottom and kind of show you what the car looks like, and then we'll go from there. All right, guys, we're gonna kind of watch the replay here, and we'll kind of walk you through what I was thinking, what I was feeling here. So you can see already here we're getting pretty tight. Car got in real smooth there, had a real nice corner. It's just a little jumpy on throttle. Car wants to tail out. You can see there again, at second on the throttle, it just jumps around. But it handles the corner well. Okay, we're starting to roll through the slick a little bit here. Got a little too sideways there on exit. You see there, I had a little bit of a snap loose. I was tight on entry. Had to really crank the wheel and it made the car pitch around. So here we tried to throw it in a little harder and it just didn't hold. Pretty good corner there. But again, kind of snap loose on the throttle coming out of the corner there. And a little too sideways again. So it's just a little too free middle exit. Alright guys, we put a heavier right rear spring in. I'm at a 250 now, so you guys can kind of see a big jump there in spring rate and kind of see the differences. We would expect the car to be a little tighter getting in. Okay, let me first, I guess, explain how the physics of the spring weight transfer happens. So the heavier a spring is, the more weight it's going to accept. So putting a heavier right rear spring in is going to essentially, when the car goes from left to right rolling into the corner, less weight is going to transfer to the right front and more of the weight's going to transfer to the right rear. You're going to notice a tighter entry because of this, because there's more pressure on that right rear spring getting in. But you're gonna, when you pick up the throttle through the center, the car's gonna rotate easier, and it's gonna be freer getting out. Now you can go too far with this right rear spring and make a really free entry, or a really free exit, I mean. So as you jump on throttle, you got to be easy, or else you're gonna be tailing sideways all the way down the front stretch. We'll see what happens here. See if we're that extreme. Just kind of see what the car does. There you can see, guys, it stuck the corner really well. Came out of the corner really well. Again, here in the grip, it's going really good. There you can see, again, jumped on throttle, a little bit free on exit, but it's really sticking the corner good in the grip. Quite a bit straighter exit there. Yeah, it's handling a lot better in the grip now. Running through the slick, had really good grip getting in and through center, but like I said, man, you get on the exit and it just way overpowers the car and tries to spin. There I tried to throw it in a little harder. It stuck. It stuck good on the slick there. And that's going to be because so much weight is hitting that right rear, it's going to plant that right rear tire. Again, where every corner we're just really free on exit. But I felt like it's gone a lot better in the slick here too. Really good in the grip. Alright guys, we're down to a 150 in the right rear. So 100-pound change from what we just had. Probably expect that when we get up in the grip on top, the car's probably not going to go quite as well. It's going to lay over on the right rear, and you know, it may struggle a little bit. Through the slick, I would suspect that it would probably hook up pretty decent. I felt like we hooked up pretty good with the heavier spring through the center. It just almost was too much. I think if we would have had a 225 in, we'd have been a lot better. But you are going to get some good roll with a softer spring. But guys, you got to remember that just because your car has more body roll does not mean it has more traction. If you take a 150-pound spring and it compresses 2 inches, you've got 300 pounds of load, right? It takes 100 pounds to compress it an inch. It compresses 2 inch, or it takes 150 pounds to compress it an inch. Okay, and you compress it 2 inches, so 150 times 2 is 300. So if you have a 250-pound spring compressed to 2 inches, that's 500 pounds. So you have 500 pounds of load in the right rear with a heavier spring and 300 pounds of load in the right rear with a softer spring. Now, I know that a stiffer spring typically is not going to compress as much as a softer spring, but you have to remember that a stiffer spring accepts more weight, so it is going to compress more than it would have if you had say you jump from a 225 to a 250. That 250 is gonna accept more weight, so it's gonna compress more than you think. So just keep that in mind when tuning. Just because your car has body roll does not mean it has more traction. I would expect that this thing is gonna probably struggle to get up off the corner in the slick. It'll probably drive pretty straight up off the corner because the left rear is probably gonna have a lot more grip than the right rear does. But I'm not going to be able to rotate very well through center. I'm going to have to set up my center on my entry because I have a feeling that if I don't get the car rotated through center on time, that we're really going to struggle getting out. We're just going to be too snug. So we'll see what happens and go from there. Alright guys, you can already see kind of a tightness there on the rear, getting in the corner. Really laid over on that right rear and just did not want to go ahead and rotate. You see a pretty tight exit there. Car straightened out pretty quick. Another tight center. Tight entry. Wheels are turned left quite a bit on entry there. Tight exit. It really felt like the car was just laying over on the right rear in the grip. It was just kind of hard to muscle through. See there, it rolled through the slick a little better. Pretty good exit, honestly. Rolled through the center pretty well again there. Just a little bit of an over rotation there again. Just not enough right rear grip to stick the car. It just kind of wanted to keep floating. But man, our exits got a lot better with this softer right rear spring. We're driving up out of the corner a lot better. Yeah, another good corner there. Alright guys, we're back to standard spring on the right rear, and we're going to go heavy in the right front. So I went from a 550 to a 625. Again, just a big jump so you can guys see a big change. So what you'd expect with the right front on being heavier, kind of similar to the right rear, right? So it's heavier, it's going to get more weight. As the weight transfers from left to right, the right rear is now going to accept a little less weight than it did, and it's going to go to the right front. This can be beneficial, I think, in heavy stuff. It's going to help hold the car up a little bit because you're going to have more momentum going into the corner, right? So it's going to want to slam that right front a little harder. Having a little extra spring there to hold it up is a good thing, but just remember it is going to accept more weight, so it is going to compress more. Just because it's stiffer doesn't mean it's not going to compress. Really got to be careful. You got to have a shock to go with that right front to be able to control how much it's going to compress and how quickly. I would expect that this thing is going to go pretty good around the top in the grip, because it's going to have more front end grip now than it used to. And so when you have that high speed carrying into the corner, you're going to be able to turn and cut pretty hard. You're going to have a little less rear grip, but that's okay if you're in the tack, because you don't need as much grip when you're in the tack. Now on the slick, I have a feeling this thing's not going to hook up quite as well. We could even have the potential maybe to shove the nose a little bit across the center and just not hook up on the rear. So we'll just see what happens here, but that's what I would expect in real life. See there already, guys, a little bit tight when we didn't carry enough speed into the corner. Car really turned well in the grip there. You can see it's just really hanging the corner real well with that stiffer right front spring. It's just kind of planting the right front and just following the corner around. It's driving real nice here. Getting down in the slick here. Did pretty well. A little tight on exit. Just really, guys, really some good corners here. This stiffer right front spring worked well at this track. A little bit snug there, but the car's just really planting and turning when I need it to, so you can deal with a little snugness if you can just flick the wheel and it goes ahead and turns. Guys, for our last change, we're going softer in the right front spring, down to a 500 now. So what you would expect is the car to roll more onto the right front, but have a little less grip. Of course, you can fix some of this with shocks, but we're ignoring shocks right now, right? This is just purely spring changes. The car is going to get down on the right front a little harder. Could potentially start to, if you enter on top with a lot of speed, you could potentially start to pick up a push, shove the nose across the track, because it's just dumping all the body roll onto the right front, but it's probably not going to have the same amount of traction, uh, because it's not as heavy of a spring as what we just had. Um, so you're going to get that good body roll action, but not quite the grip in the front end that we had before. Um, Through the slick, I would expect that it's probably gonna be a little better, um, because it is gonna have that body roll get on the right front, and it's gonna allow us to kind of get the car rotated and pivot through the center. Um, as we slow the car down, because as you slow your car down getting on the entry, your car is gonna have natural body roll, right? Well, the softer the spring is, the more natural body roll it's gonna have. So you're gonna be able to enter the corner a little softer, a little easier, and still get that body roll that you need to get the car kind of down on the right front and to rotate. Um, Again, it could be too much when you get on the grip though, because you're just gonna slam that right front into the ground. That could be a situation where you start chunking up dirt, filling your frame rail full of dirt, and I'm sure we've all been there. But anyway, let's see what happens. So you can see there, guys, on that entry, we had picked up a push. We slammed the right front down, and it just kind of skid across the corner of the seat. Same thing here. It's just not wanting to turn in the grip. Slamming the right front in the ground and just shoving the nose. Alright guys, now we'll get in the slick here. You can see the car, I slowed up my corner and the car rotated around the slick perfect. Slowed up your entry, let the car rotate, get back on throttle and drive out of the corner. It's working real well like I expected here in the slick. It just was not wanting to turn very well in that grip up top. Just too much momentum, too much force going onto that right front and the grip. There you see I kind of goofed up and hit the inside wall. But yeah, guys, great change, I think, for the slick there. Hope you guys enjoyed all this, and kind of a post video tip here, guys. So on the spring compression, so you can use your shocks and your travel indicators as kind of a guide. So for instance, let's say you notice that your right rear shock travel indicator is traveling, I don't know, let's say 3 inches on the right rear after a race. So okay, you go in and you make a spring change and put a heavier spring in and reset your indicator and realize now it's only traveling 2.5. Well, you take your 2.5 inches times the spring rate that you have in now, and that's going to give you your load. Okay, how much weight is being transferred to that spring um, in the corner. Now, it's not a true representation of the actual weight being transferred to your right rear in that corner because unless you have a coilover, your spring and shock are not in line, right? But as long as your shock and spring placement stay the same at all times, uh, that will always be a good tell of a constant way to be able to tell what your load is. So now that you know what your new load is with your heavier spring and your 2.5 inches, you can go back and say, okay, well, my 50-pound less spring rate that I had in before was traveling 3 inches, and multiply your spring rate times your 3 inches there, and then that'll give you your spring loads and your wheel weights. So basically, you're going to be able to tell, well, this is how much load I have with this spring, this is how much load I have with this spring, and the more load you have, the more traction you have. To a point. Always remember you can overload tires. It is possible. You can put too much traction in a tire. It'll cause the tire to deform, and it's not a great thing. But that's a good way to maybe kind of help you guys do a little quick test at the track and know exactly kind of what's going on with your car. If you guys have any more uh, questions, feel free to get a hold of us on our Facebook page. And if you have any ideas or want to see some specific adjustments, comment down below. Let us know. Thanks, guys.